Welcome to the March Downtown Madison Inc. Advocacy Update Series, where we're going to provide our members in the greater community an opportunity to learn about DMI's advocacy work, initiatives, priorities, and get a deeper dive into some of the most pressing issues impacting downtown. I'm Jason Ilstrup, president of Downtown Madison Inc., and we're here today with Claire Oleksiak, the executive director of Sustain Dane. We're going to learn all about Sustain Dane and the fantastic work they're doing in sustainability and resiliency here in Dane County. But before we get to our friend Claire, we're going to thank our sponsors. And a huge thanks to our major series sponsor, Sinair. And Chris Jillings, Senior Vice President of Business Development, will be with us, but he'll be with us after I give a policy update. So just a second here. Also want to thank our friends at the Fiore Companies and Hush Blackwell. So again, thank you to Sinair, Fiore, and Hush Blackwell for your partnership in making downtown Madison an economically strong, equitable, inclusive, and vibrant place to live, work, and visit, and your support of the Advocacy Update series. All right, what's happening in the downtown? First, got some big news from DMI. We added something to our website, which I know you all go to every single day. So now you've probably already seen our new update. We've got a new data dashboard. Our data dashboard comes from our strategic plan. We really want to make sure that our members understand what's going on with the data in downtown. So it's about live, work, and play, and it's updated more frequently than our State of the Downtown report. So please do check out our website. Can't miss it. It's in a beautiful lime green color on the upper side of our website, www.downtownmadison.org, where we use data and to talk about what's happening in the downtown, both positive and negative. So please do check out the new data dashboard. Into advocacy work, we continue our partnership with Alders Bennett and Govindarajan on the city's discussion about the affordable housing crisis, and in particular, the work that we're doing in the public-private partnership on affordable student housing. The group continues to meet, and we heard a presentation from Jeff Novak, Director of Housing for UW at last meeting, and in a couple weeks' time, we're going to hear from Professor Kurt Paulson on the overall state of housing in the Madison area. The committee is going to make recommendations to the city's Housing Strategy Committee on how we can improve the affordable housing crisis for students. We'll make those recommendations in three pots, one for the university, for the city itself, capital C, and one for the private development community. Our Transportation Committee continues to work on Vision Zero. We heard a presentation from Yang Tao and the team about Vision Zero, which is the city's initiative to stop all pedestrian deaths on the roads here in Madison. We've been longtime members of the Strategic Planning Committee, and Yang and the team spoke to our Transportation Committee. We continue as an organization to be fully behind the work of Vision Zero. We want to try to stop any pedestrian deaths here on our roads. And so we're proud to work directly with the city of Madison. Our Quality of Life Committee had a really interesting discussion this last month, and you can find it on our YouTube channel, where we discussed what students need to feel like they feel welcome in the downtown area. We talked to Stephanie Benson-Gonzalez and Kirsten DiMartino from Campus and Visitor Relations about what they hear from students in SOAR, the orientation program, the new students that are coming in, and their parents. It was a really good discussion. In fact, DMI is now committed to working a lot more to get them information about what's going downtown and take the information we're hearing from those prospective and new students about what they want to see, and create much stronger formal ties between us and the University of Wisconsin. DMI is also excited to launch a new series, our IDEA series, which is a presentation and facilitated discussions about DE&I work. And our goal is to connect and share information and learn best practices from some great leaders in the DE&I space in our membership and in the community. Our first event is coming up soon, so please do check the calendar. This will be a quarterly series where you can join us at any point. It's open to any of our members. We're very excited about this work, and a huge thanks to Madeline Plum on our team, Brenda Gonzalez, and Mark Richardson from our board of directors in helping lead this work. So I hope you can join us for one of those series this year. Got several other large events coming up on the calendar. Got a What's Up Downtown breakfast happening this week, although it depends on when you're listening to this. But if it's the week of March 18th, on the 21st, we have Ellie Westmanchin, the president and CEO of Destination Madison, talking about all things tourism in downtown. She'll be at the Edgewater Hotel, 7:45 to 9 a.m. And yes, it's the day after the first airing of the Wisconsin Top Chef themed season. season 21. We couldn't be more excited. It's going to be a lot of Madison in this series. And it's a shameless plug just to get you there, but Ellie's going to talk about Top Chef significantly. We also have an important meeting with our government relations and economic development committees on the 28th of March at 8 a.m. It's a hybrid meeting either at Reinhardt at 22 East Mifflin Suite 700 or on Zoom. We're going to hear from David Schmedeke. Dave Schmedeke is the controller for the city of Madison about the city's current $27 million deficit and the challenges that's presenting for the city budget. So a very important conversation. And then last up, our government relations committee is going to talk about the new maps for the state legislature with Adam Barr from Michael Best Strategies, who's on our board of directors. He'll give an update on all of the new maps, and that really affects every resident who might be in new districts. They might have new elected officials. So I hope you can join us on Tuesday, April 2nd from 8 to 9 a.m. That is a virtual meeting, but please do go to our website, www.downtownmadison.org for information, more information on all of those events. All right. We're going to go back to our sponsor, our major series sponsor, our good friends at Scenair. Chris Jillings, the Senior Vice President of Business Development. Chris, how's it going today?
Busy, man. Hence why I'm coming in a little bit after your comments and a little bit out of order. How about you, Jason?
I'm good, but I gotta say your busy is good for Madison because it means you're funding more projects, you're building more housing. We just talked earlier in the update about the affordable housing crisis. New numbers today from Dane County or from the area that said Dane County increased resident in less than 3 years by 14,000 residents. At the same time, downtown alone increased 1,000 residents, which puts more pressure on housing and organizations like you that fund a lot of these housing projects. Tell me what you're hearing in the market right now for more housing in Madison.
Yeah, a lot of the same things, Jason, right? Like, and it actually really segues really well to our conversation today with Claire. One of the things that makes Madison such an attractive place to be is that it does have a lot of thought put into being sustainable. And there is a lot of thought and a lot of community organization around trying to make things as equitable as possible. And it's resulted in the city that we see, thanks in great part to DMI, along with a lot of the partner organizations that take a hand in that. But it attracts people, right? And long-term growth of the city and growth of Dane County is not only good for the city of Madison, it's good for the state of Wisconsin. It's good for the local economy. It's good for the regional economy. So all of those things are very positive, but it puts a lot of strain on where do you house folks? How do you get housing in a community that's safe, that's stable, that's dignified, that really supports that growth. And that's an intersection of the market. A lot of what we do in affordable housing is trying to address the fact that we're trying to charge less for rent, which is not where capital would natively flow. But also the housing crisis is not just contained to affordable housing in Dane County. It's at almost every price point that we can see. Some good news this morning as I was driving in, as far as hearing that housing starts are up 11% over January. So that's great. But almost every study that you see is that in the short term to moderate term, that pace is still not enough to address the need that we currently have. So yeah, it keeps me busy. But we hear a lot of the same things.
Well, we're glad you're busy on this work because Scenair is a fantastic firm. And I don't know if you heard from Chris and your friend Nicole, but I happened to stalk them in their lobby yesterday. I was having a meeting with Susan Schmitz in your building lobby and I ran into them. I don't know why I told you this, but it's all about the connections in a downtown area, including in your lobby. So thank you to ULI for having a great lobby, and we could run into Scenair. Great
Absolutely.
story. That was a really good story. Really good story by me.
It is, but grateful to be here with Claire today. And what's great about Sustain Dane is that it's about the long term, right? They're part of they're kind of there at the forefront, trying to be the voice for a lot of the things that have occurred organically here in Madison, and organically and with intent over the course of the last 30 to 40 years that have made it the place that it is today. I want to see my grandkids come back someday and see not only a city as vibrant as it is today, but one that is more vibrant and more equitable and more just, and serves the needs of everybody in the community for not only years to come, but for decades and generations to come. So excited to hear about some of Claire's work and what's going on with Sustain Dane right now to really champion that effort.
Well, Chris, thank you. Thank you for one, saving me from my terrible story, and two, for your hard work in downtown and the much better segue to Claire that I ever gave. So, Chris, I owe you one, my friend. I owe you one.
Anytime, Jason. Glad to be.
All right, Chris, thank you. Thank you to our friends at Scenair, again, Hush Blackwell, and the Fiore companies as well. All right, on to our guest, our good friend, Claire Oleksiak, who is the executive director of Sustain Dane. Here's what you don't know about Claire. Claire also has worked for downtown management organizations for years. And so her and I are kindred spirits in this work. And we're forever thankful for what she does for our community, both in sustainability and resiliency, but also the built community in the downtown. Claire, how are you today?
I am good. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great, Claire. Thank you very much for joining us. I just got to say to our listeners, if you don't know Claire, get to know her. She's one of the coolest people I know in Madison.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. We're on a lot of boards together. Used to be called the Friends of Nolan Waterfront, but we have a new name. Can I announce that new name here?
No, I don't think we should do that.
Nope. So there we go. So the group it's like a Prince album. We're formerly known as the Friends of Nolan Waterfront, but just wait for the new name. Anyway, really great stories I'm telling here today. This thing's going great. This advocacy update's the best I've ever done. Can you save me? Can you save me, Claire? I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
What is Sustain Dane and what do you all do?
All right. Good first question.
Thank you. Way to say, I'm just trying to get it back on track here.
Great. So Sustain Dane is a nonprofit. We've been around for over 20 years in Madison, and our work is around helping businesses, organizations, and individuals learn about sustainability, connect around it, have a community around it, and then take action. So that means we are the go-to for resources. We have workshops. We also are running a number of programs with direct impact, which I'm sure we'll get to in a moment. But what Chris was saying, right? When we're looking at our vision and our mission, it's how can we meet our needs today while also being able to meet the needs of future generations. And that's a lot of what our work is, and thinking about kind of holistically how we're going to build a community filled with well-being.
And I got to say, as a participant of some of your programs, I had good fortune of being part of the Empower program several years ago. You really do a phenomenal job of taking that advocacy work and bringing it into action. Tell us about the advocacy work that you're working on now. What are your current priorities for Sustain Dane?
Yeah. So kind of three buckets I'll talk about. So the first one is around the education programs we do. So Empower is one of them. It's now called Accelerate Sustainability Workshop. And this is helping businesses just put their plan together, or if they have a plan, make steps forward on their plan, be tracking their impact, tracking their achievements. And this could be, at the CEO level, it could be at a team member that's really passionate, but being that professional development to move that work forward. There's also, quarterly education programs that happen, and then area-specific ones, around water in particular, or recycling, which we'll talk a little bit about later. So education, first bucket. Second bucket we're working in is around affordable housing and energy efficiency in the rental market. So as you guys were talking about, right, we know people are moving here, and building more units is really important. The work that we're doing is around investing in our current existing affordable housing and the smaller units. So those kind of 4 units, those 8 units, you know what I'm talking about, right? They're kind of like brick, usually in square, all kind of built in that 60, 70 time period. A lot of them were not built with energy efficiency in mind, which means the energy burden to residents can be 30% more than other housing. And when you're looking at how to make housing affordable, taking down those utility costs is a really important part of that. So we've worked in over 130 units to date, and we've been able to take down the energy bills by about $650 annually. So making great progress, and the program is able to 100% fund those investments. So that's also a really important part of this, to get past those barriers, which is money and time usually, right, to reach the residents that need this the most. So that's the second bucket we're working in. And then the third area we're working in is around waste reduction, both through recycling and also removing food waste from our landfill. That's actually our largest our largest contaminant right now in the landfill. And as we are reaching capacity of our landfill, the county is in plans to build their second landfill. And those plans for the sustainability campus, they're calling it, involve a place for food waste to be taken out, which will mean that that site can last that much longer, as well as you're looking at, more of a circular economy with that. So we ran food free drop-off sites for food scraps at 2 farmers markets the past 2 years. We're also doing work in schools, both around piloting some food waste reduction, share table strategies, and composting. And then one of our biggest programs is our Recycle Better program, which people have a lot of questions, right? And just helping people know, here's some of the basics, also how you get the answers, and just feeling confident that, you care about this and you want to be confident that you're doing the best you can.
You mean I'm not supposed to put that pizza box with like leftover cheese parts in the recycling? Basically, that's
Yep,
yeah. So
that's one of them, right?
very, very helpful. And I got to say though, in all seriousness, I was so excited to be part of Empower when I was the manager at Hotel Red. I can't say enough of what they did. We did a project based on reduction of use of lights, and we saved, it was nearly 10% on our energy bill. Look, we were, temporary housing for hospitality, but you parlay that and exactly what you were talking about in units, and those savings will get passed on to those renters, and it's just good for the environment. What other examples do you have of organizations that you've worked with where you've seen really dramatic effects that have helped their bottom line, but have then of course helped our environment?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, like we have over 1,000 projects that have happened.
You don't have one
across
of
County.
those thousands not your
I
favorite?
know, right?
I
I'm
don't
like,
understand.
okay, like
Yeah.
what's the most recent one that
Yeah.
that we've worked on? But so like I was saying, right, we do this every year. We had the most number of people register last year. We had 80 individuals and 40 businesses that all signed up to do this last year. And we actually converted the list of what businesses are choosing to do and individuals on our homepage of our website, because we know that people kind of, like those lists or understanding where to start. Energy is one of the biggest ones. We also have, and we'll talk about this too, I think, work around renewables or food. There's been some pretty big movement with some of our members like Playcon, which is kind of that Fitchburg-Madison border, about how they are moving to post-consumer recycled materials in their products. And they actually have their own MRF, which is like a recycling center where they're taking in plastics with that. We've also seen some really big impacts with organizations kind of starting with a competition with their businesses and then moving that into another work, True Stage did a pretty significant transportation challenge in April, and kind of looking at alternative transportation. Up-Level Co-working was one of the recent companies that now is doing the conscious commuter punch cards. So just finding different ways that people can connect with where there is opportunities or where their goals are for their sustainability plans, to move those forward.
Now, I can't let you pass with the acronym MRF. What does that stand for? I do like that one. I never heard that before.
So right, yeah, recycling talk. MRF is Materials Recovery Facility.
Got it. No, thank you. That's a really good, there's bad ones where you're kind of forcing that acronym into a saying, but MRF is just a good one. That's a good one. So, we have a lot of businesses and a lot of our residents that are members of our organization. What can they do as either business or an individual to help make our community more sustainable?
Yeah. And we also share a lot of members, which is exciting too, because I know this is a topic that
We do. Actually, I think we share half of our board too. I mean, we've got a significant Mark Richardson and so many folks that are involved in both organizations. Jim Bradley, and yeah, absolutely.
Mark, and and thank you to our board for all their service.
Absolutely.
So the first thing I'm going to say is talk about it. Talk about sustainability. If you're an employee, let your employer know that this matters to you. If you're a decision maker, add it in for one of the values when you're making a decision. And we can help you with some of those frameworks, right? But we know that the majority of people are concerned about the impacts of climate change or what that might look like. And I think it's under 40% are talking about it. So we just need to kind of normalize that, right? And no one can get it perfect. There's no end goal. This is a journey. So start adding it into conversations like this matters to me, or how can we think about this? What can we do? And then the other one is to start thinking about how to prioritize, right? Having a plan and having something that you're measuring, because if you're not measuring it, you're probably not taking action on it. So that could be looking at possibly where CO2 emissions come from. It could be looking at maybe goals that you have, or the county has, or the city has, to align with those. It could also just be the place where you feel, or your team members feel, the most energy, and like doing those smaller maybe wins is building momentum to then taking the bigger impacts, or planning, right? Doing a whole change out of light bulbs, or an HVAC system, right? Like that can take time, but along the way to build up that positive movement. The other thing I'll say is thinking about this from a place of, I'm gonna use the word abundance, right? This doesn't mean you have to do less, right? This actually can be about doing things that feel better and good and bring people community, right? So that can mean, like biking, for instance. I know you're a big biker, Jason, right? There are so many reports that people say, when I bike, or even when I take public transportation, I feel better, right? And yeah, every single day you might not be able to bike, but how can that maybe be a part of what is possible or is supported by your employer to do, right? Or like, having a CSA come, maybe, these are some kind of like the earlier wins type stuff, having, some kind of like local food process that could be part of your work. So just kind of keeping that in mind, I think, is an important framing, I guess, for how we make our community more sustainable.
Yeah, I really like that abundance sort of concept. It makes sense. Particularly, I bike to work forever, and that makes, I forget that makes a difference, but it's up to the employers to make it comfortable for me to bike into work, right? I mean, I've got locked up bike spaces inside. I have a shower. Last week it was pouring virtually the entire day. I had to change clothes multiple times. You didn't always need to know that, but it's a reality of a biker. But the employer needs to be there to set it up, or our employer also has free bus passes for all of our employees, right? It makes it easier. So I love that abundance mindset. All right. Speaking of abundance, we talked about it earlier. But recycling is something that a lot of us can do. And I think a lot of us get it right. We don't fully get it right. We get it wrong. What are tips out there for both businesses and personal that we can get this right? Because it really is an important part of sustainability.
Yeah. So first thing I want to say is recycling is a market, right? So economics here, guys. Like, we got to reduce the contamination in it so that the product that's being sold on the market is it wants to be bought, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons why it matters to be thoughtful and to the best of your ability, do what you can. So I think some of the tips are, it's not a magic wand, and you are probably never going to know all the facts, but we can help you kind of know where to go. But stuff that we get kind of when we do one of our programs, we ask, what's the stuff that you were most excited to learn, right? So I'll share some of those. So the first one is about lids. So for plastic items, keep the lids on them. So screw on your lids. Part that's because of the size of them. If you get below kind of the size of like a Post-it note, it can be difficult for the really sophisticated like robotic machinery to sort it. So keep it on if it's a plastic item. And then if it's a glass item, take the top off. And that's because it's likely not glass. So you don't want to mix the two materials. So that's a good one.
I mean, that just is so common sense. Yes.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Claire.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
The other one is coffee cups. Those recently like the disposable ones can now be recycled in our waste stream here in Madison. So if you have like the three pieces of the sleeve, the cup, and then the top itself, the sleeve and the cup go in the recycling, and then the top would just get thrown away. So that's another one. Like you said, with pizza grease, items with food on them can be hard to process. So if there's grease on the pizza box, that would actually go in the trash. Just do the best you can with removing stuff from like a peanut butter container or that kind of thing. But the food residue, removing that is good. Yeah, so I'll stop there for your next question.
No. I just keep going. I mean, these are really helpful tips. In fact, there's really good information I know on the city's website about what can and cannot be recycled, which is important to get it right because we're trying to do the right thing. All right, I got a two-part question for you. You are an expert in sort of things that are happening in sustainability, and you really know cities well. Are there other cities you see across the country that are doing really innovative sustainability work that you would love to see Madison and Dane County partake in?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's really positive that we're going to start looking at energy of our commercial buildings and learning from that and doing tune-ups or possibly other improvements. And I think that will help us all have information to know how we can continue contributing to more sustainable air quality and overall our city's goals, which a number of other cities across the country have moved in that direction. Um, food food is actually the highest emission, which a lot of people don't know. Yeah. So thinking about like kind of the food system is something that I think we have a lot of opportunities for and learning. So that means one, more plant-based meals. And I'm not saying you have to go vegan, but just considering like throughout the week, if there's a day or meals that you can reduce meat consumption in that has a huge reduction on CO2. And then thinking about the agricultural cycle, so the transportation of the food, the planting of it, that doesn't get eaten. So kind of the ways I think other cities are, and we are embracing kind of the local movement, the alternative or plant-based meals, like all of that kind of in the food systems, and then composting with that at the end. So something that a lot of other cities are doing is removing food scraps from their pickup of landfill. We're not quite there yet, but we do have an opportunity for drop-off boxes because the county has gotten a grant for that. So I think that's kind of moving us in the right direction and good opportunity. Also, BRT, of course, trying out just the bus system that is going to be more convenient and easier to move through. I think the other one is sustainable investments in public spaces. And, the way, one of the reasons I'm on the Lake Monona Waterfront Committee is because of my passion for that and the way that people want to then go into nature that's nearby them, nearby nature, right? You call it. And that these spaces that we're creating are also spaces for natural habitats, for rainwater collection, trees, right? To sequester carbon, but kind of all these beautiful public spaces that other cities have. We have many too, but continuing that work, I think, is also really important.
It's as if you knew what my second part question was, but you didn't know because we didn't send it ahead of time. But you are someone that really understands placemaking, right? This idea that we want to create these innovative spaces where people can connect in the downtown. The Lake Monona Waterfront Project is 100% that, and I think if we get it right, we can create so much more of a sustainable, shoreline, and more trees, more ways to capture carbon, capture rainwater, stormwater. What have you seen though? I'm just going to ask a variant of the question. What placemaking projects in your travels throughout the country have been really innovative that you've seen, you'd love to see us try here in Madison?
Gosh, I mean, yeah, I love placemaking.
I mean, Claire really, and she knows placemaking. We want to, she has been such a great partner to DMI and the work that we're doing. We're hiring a new position in this, and Claire's been a great ally. So, we really are thankful. So I'd love to hear your best practices about what we could do here.
So the project I worked on for the beginning part of my career was in Washington, D.C., and Yards Park is what it is. And this was actually like a brownfield, it was a naval site that had been fenced off so people could not get to the Anacostia River, and there was no there at all. So kind of seeing how the transformation has occurred with bringing back the wildlife and with people now being able to spend time along the water, and then also the community gathering that has occurred. It's transformational, right? It just really is. And making it a space that everyone feels welcome, that's incredibly diverse, that all ages can be comfortable there, right? All of that. I think Bryant Park is another really great example. It's in the middle of New York City and you walk in and it's an oasis. The executive director, Brian Park, once shared with me that his sign of a successful public space is that people have taken off their shoes. And he says in the middle of New York, dirty, dirty street, maybe over here, people are sitting in Bryant Park with their shoes on, right? But that is how like calm and welcoming they feel. I think also, Seattle waterfront, I feel like that's, a very large, expansive space. We don't have quite that much room, but, just incredible, the walkways and the paths and again, kind of that kind of transportation corridor element of that, is really, really pretty incredible. Even, St. Louis, the recent park that they did there where they were building over the freeway, just the stormwater management there and then the reconnection piece. I think that's kind of like a more kind of Midwest, like really good example.
Well, I think you see that in those last two projects. They're very similar to what could happen with Lake Monona waterfront, right? They involve large transportation corridors that in Seattle, they took down much of the highway. Here, I think we're going to probably tear over in sections, but you can see those as real examples of what we could do with this Lake Monona waterfront. It really is a generational sort of transformative project for the downtown. Unfortunately, years ago, we cut off the downtown on the Lake Monona side, at least, from the main part of the city. And I think hopefully we can right some of those wrongs. So thank you, Claire, for your hard work on this subject. All right, I got one last question. And this is for all the parents that are listening here today. Claire and I both are parents of young kids, and I'm just going to start off with Bluey. What's your favorite Bluey episode?
So Bluey is amazing. I feel like it's 50% for children and then 50%
Oh,
for
I think
adults.
it's 75%
You think it's
adult,
75%,
25%
just,
children.
like reminding like the extra kindness
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
way to be. So I think my favorite episode right now is Boat, which is basically where a parent is on the floor and pretending to be a boat. And this one is my favorite because one of my kids started asking me if we could play Boat, and I had no idea what this was. So we actually were playing it before I had watched the episode. I was like, oh, that's how. Plus, I mean, come on, we're in Madison, our lakes, boating, getting out, right? Like, how could you not love that?
Well, you didn't ask me, but I'm going to answer the question too. There's an episode where, so we have a divided household. My wife, I'm a Vikings fan, begrudgingly, but I am a Vikings fan. My wife is a Packers fan. And they had an episode where two rugby teams, the mom and the dad, were fans of two different rugby teams. And it was really cool about how people could get together in the end. And it's just, if you haven't seen the show, really, I almost watch it without Mateo. But I do watch it with Mateo because every time, Claire, the theme song comes out, do-do-do-do-do-do, he just goes, do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, it's the best. Anyway, enough on Bluey. Claire, thank you for all the work you do for downtown, for Sustain Dane. You're just doing excellent work. We're so thankful for being such strong partners in what you're doing and being progressive and innovative with sustainability and resiliency here in the downtown, but throughout Dane County. I've learned so much from you today, but also our years of friendship. So thank you, Claire. Again, Claire Oleksiak, the Executive Director of Sustain Dane. Want to thank our friends and our partners at Sinair, Hush Blackwell, and the Fury Companies for making the Advocacy Update happen. Hopefully we'll see you downtown soon with plenty of shopping bags and a full belly. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for all the support.